Sometimes I go behind the looking glass and down the rabbit's hole. I can't help it. It's just the way I am, which is exactly what I want to talk about. You see, I gave up Netflix, HBO, Hulu, and all the rest for Lent, which basically just leaves me with a lot of time on my hands to sit and think. Well, okay. Actually, I spent a lot more time on YouTube than I should, and I know that that's not the point of Lent. I get it. But anyway, recently with my YouTube wormholes, I found myself studying two things: psychoanalysis and determinism. Now, determinism is the idea that there is no free will. Like, your actions are determined by your biology, your genes, your physiology, your chemistry, your electron exchanges, etc. Just like you don't pick your parents, where you were born, or what spoon you were fed with, you also don't get to choose your decisions. Now, the strict determinist would say that your biology determines how you respond to painful stimuli, stress, bad news, and loss, and as well as the good stuff too. Therefore, these things become the reason you do anything that you do. Raise your right hand, that's determinism, not free will. You open the door for an elderly person, that's determinism, not free will. You kill 50 people with an assault rifle, that's determinism and not free will. Now, that sounds crazy, right? Yeah. And there's a lot of problems with it. But like most things in life, it's complicated. You kind of see how the theory breaks down. It takes away self-responsibility. There's no blame. There's no good deeds. There's only what is. There's no good or bad. There's no right or wrong. Now, I don't agree with this philosophically. But you can see that just by examining things this way, we can learn a lot about human actions and about human illnesses, specifically mental illness. And if you know me, you know that I believe morality is real. I think you can see this by examining its opposite. You can read DHS case reports. My experience with treating methamphetamine addiction, or if you worked in legal proceedings through a divorce, you can see all the good and all the bad in people. But some would say this just proves the point. And I get it. I just think it's a much more nuanced conversation than I'm really ready to have here. So I'm not going to try to either prove or disprove determinism from a philosophy. But instead, I want to look at root causes of addiction, depression, mania, psychosis. Because as we are starting to understand the biological cause of these things, we no longer have to blame the patient or ask them to use more willpower. Instead, we can treat the disease. And now here's the interesting thing, and you can let me know if you think it's a contradiction or not. People change. In fact, my whole career is based off the idea that people can change. So what made you doesn't have to make you after all. In fact, your unmaking might be what makes you. And who decides that? Is it fate? Or is it your choice? You know, the idea of a you is really just in your head anyway. It's a label you give yourself to accept the harshness of reality and your place in this world. Or to say it another way, it's a story you tell. And most of the stories we tell are false narratives. They're based on other people's perceptions and thoughts. We are stuck in the ideology of our present state. But maybe stuck is the wrong word, because like I said before, people can surprise you. You want to change? Write a new story. It's that simple. Now, you might be limited in your ability to change because there's still that tricky biology to overcome. But that's okay. Because the truth is, psychiatric illness has long been the redheaded stepchild of medicine. Apologies to my mom for that. Neglected and misunderstood, easier just to ignore it than to face it. Because like Nietzsche said, when you stare into the abyss stares back. We don't want to face the problem of mental illness because it feels so foreign, so mystical, so terrible, and yet so close. In the past, we had no answers. Was it parenting, attachment issues, edible complex, demons? But now we can identify the genes and the neurochemistry responsible. We understand better the mechanisms, and in turn, we look for treatments to pinpoint the biology. You see, the biology is the answer. But there's a problem. Because biology is the answer, but it's not the full answer. Because a person is more than their biology. Remember? A person is an idea inside a mind. A person is a story that they tell themselves. And of course, that mind swirls with cells and chemicals and the rest. But doesn't there seem to be something a bit more? And that's where psychoanalysis comes in. A way to get inside that beautiful brain of yours without the scalpel. And I'm not saying you have to go lay on a couch and tell a therapist all of your dreams and your perversions, but maybe you should. And in the good old days, people would just go to their priest. You see, talk therapy can have amazing benefits for patients struggling with despair, psychosis, neurosis, all types of issues. And the psychoanalysis is going to tell you, they're not going to tell you anything. They're just going to listen. They're going to be patient, kind, slightly guided, until you start to unravel your own mystery of what made the you, you. And then you get to determine what will make the you now. But it's complicated, and it takes time. But such is life. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. I just want you to know, I see you. Peace.